how they may answer, they're all Republicans? All Republicans? We're all Republicans. We're in this together. This is not meant to be a bash any of these guys. They're working hard for their money, or their lack thereof, whatever the case may be. Now, they're working really hard for you. This is our opportunity to set expectations, to give them guidance. I loved it when Peggy said, they represent us. They don't represent the government. I love that. So today, let's remind ourselves that we're all in this together. I'm not looking for anybody to ask ugly questions or anything like that. That's when the other side of me comes out, and I'll just go to the next question. So we're gonna be good today, right? Amen. All right, I am now gonna turn it over to Karrie. Remember, we're in this together, and let's get something done.
Thank you so much.
Yes, let's do that. We get the pleasure of introducing our elected officials. Thank you all for taking time out of your day to be here with us. We are grateful. So, would Rob Hall from the House of Representatives stand, who's in District 67, which is also Bixby and Tulsa. Thank you so much.
We have Chris Banning, House District 24, covers Bixby, Glenpool, Jinx, Liberty, Mountain, Tulsa.
We have Brian Guthrie in our Senate, District 25, Bixby, Liberty, Tulsa, and Leonard.
We have Stan May, House District 80, that's Bixby, Broken Arrow, and Tulsa.
We have Mark Van Kuren, House 74 is his district, Owasso, and Tulsa.
We have Scott Gatter, House 16, that's Beggs, Bixby, and Broken Arrow.
We have Todd Bullinger, Senate, District 12, Glenpool, Tulsa, and Manfred.
We have our Dana Prieto, Senate 34 for Tulsa.
We have Mr. Mark Tedford, our House Representative 69, Bixby, Jinx, and Tulsa.
We have Senator John Hayes for District 36, that's Broken Arrow and Tulsa.
Ross Ford, House of Representatives, District 76, Tulsa, and Broken Arrow.
And for Broken Arrow, House 98, we have Gabe Woolley. And Aaron Reinhardt is not here yet. He said 10:40, so we are a little early. But he is Senate 37, that's Jinx, Tulsa, and Sand Springs.
Absolutely. So if we can give a round of applause and appreciation. Okay, so on your table, you do have a few questions. If you don't know how to approach one of these gentlemen, this is what this is about. Both clubs, we've reached out. We want to be able to communicate and make a difference in Oklahoma as Republicans. And so as we approach these questions, remember the rules of decorum. And this is, we want to be gentlemen and gentlewomen in the way we ask and respond. So, Shelley.
We only have 4 questions for you, and I'd like to just have 2 of you answered. If you think you have the best answer, we'd love to go with you. So the first question we have is, what are your expectations regarding constituent engagement? How or when do you want constituents to reach out to you and communicate with you?
So I pride myself on being a citizen legislator, and if you call me, if you text me, if you email me, if you send me a Facebook message, and you can attest to this, I will really quickly respond. So I think as a legislator, and my poor wife, I just feel terrible for her for the past 8 years, because at 10 o'clock at night, midnight, Thanksgiving, Christmas, it doesn't matter. If you reach out to me, that means you have a need. And it's my job as an elected official to do everything I can to help you with whatever that need is. And so anytime, any place, I know that's been said in DC before, a little different venue, but anytime, any place, if you reach out to your legislator, they should be responding.
That was a perfectly timed answer.
My answer will be a little bit shorter. I honestly believe that most of y'all need my therapist in the room. Chris Myers and I text over 100 times this week. I'm texting all of y'all all the time, but texting, everybody knows my number. Most of y'all know my number. If not, it's 918-850-2274. Text, call anytime, that's the best way. Our emails are answered by legislative assistants most of the time, unless the weekend and we get on those answers. But the constant engagement via text and email and calls is the best way to communicate. Call, text anytime. I think I talked for the majority of my colleagues.
Thank you guys so much. We don't have a chair for people who are late, so you can just sit. Okay, next two answers, please. What are your plans for prioritizing community engagement? Do you host town halls, public meetings, events like this? What are your ideas?
Well, I hosted a couple town halls this last year, and it was just for me, just for my district and that type of thing. I think they went pretty well. First one went real well because I was the newer representative. The second one, a lot of people that got to know me the first time, it was like maybe 4 months later in the middle of the session, wasn't as well attended. But I like town halls personally, especially when the session's going on, you give an update, that type of thing. I think I like the idea of this type of town hall where there's multiple districts involved and that type of thing. Just to get more people in the meeting and that type of thing. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this setting like this is great. We are looking for a town hall setting in my district. We've spoken to public schools, public libraries, and things like that. I also want people to know that they can reach me, obviously through our office phone and email, but on social media. I try to put out a lot of surveys and polls and ask a lot of questions for what Oklahoma is asking, and obviously reflecting against what people in my district are saying. But there are public libraries, there are the public schools that you pay taxes into that should have a pretty cheap amounts to be able to host a town hall. But I also think that it's good for us to be partnering with people who are already have something established, and be partnering with them too. I know Tulsa Public School District member Elena Ashley holds a monthly meeting that she opens up to people. I'm in Broken Arrow and I go to those meetings, and I want to be hearing, especially in Tulsa being more red, and not wanting some of that to bleed over to Broken Arrow. I think that it's important to be proactive and go to these meetings.
Thank you so much. The next question is, what challenges do you face in effectively communicating with your constituents, and how do you overcome them, especially during times of high legislative activity?
So, in high legislative activity, I mean, it's like running with your hair on fire. It's constant. My first two sessions, I tried to travel back and forth to the district. I'm in constant contact, usually with my ladies for Liberty, and I like to speak at community events. I'm always flanked by the now soon-to-be Speaker of the House, Kyle Hilbert, and Mark Lawson, so I'm always sandwiched in between two representatives. But the challenge is getting the word out and trying to get feedback from the district. It's more of a rural district, and so it's not so concentrated. I have Bristow, I have Kellyville, and I have Sepulveda down on Route 66. But then I have the outliers, which are Drumright and Mounds and Kiefer. And so, each one of them have their own little group. Staying in constant contact with those groups, staying in contact with the city council, those type of things. Thanks.
And last question, before we open it up to the audience, so audience, get ready. In order to remain accountable, how do you or how will you ensure that the legislative process is transparent and accessible to the public, and that your constituents receive timely information about bills, voting records, and committee hearings?
Can we take
First of all, related to transparency, all committee hearings, all activities on the floor, they're all live streamed. To the point that at any point, if the feed breaks down, we stop the meetings. So you're able to watch those. But another important thing to know is on the Senate and House websites, You can go there, you can track bills. You're able to actually see everything that's happening. When you go into a bill, you're able to see where it is. Is it moving forward? What are the votes? So all of that's out there. But one other important thing is that we started last year is related to the budget. The budget was not overly transparent. Last year, we started the Senate, the House is right there with us. We started a very transparent budget process. First of all, so that all the members of both the Senate and the House knew exactly what the budget was versus hearing it just a day or so before they're voting on it. Now it's all throughout the process. You're able to watch it, live stream, budget hearings, all those kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the live before studio audience budget process, just simply because I thought it turned into theater. However, the House, we put our budget, and if you go to okhouse.gov, you can look throughout the entire session at where the budget negotiations are, what the numbers are, what's being looked at, and that is one of the most transparent pieces of information that you can find on the budget. We also, between the House and Senate, we created LOFT, the Legislative Oversight Office of Transparency. That was a great transparent moment for the state of Oklahoma so that we could do investigations and look into, take deeper dives into things without having to do it personally as a representative, because our time does get real short. But LOFT and the budget process on the live all throughout session is really good.
Okay, what I do on a smaller scale is I have about 50 people. We usually do a dinner once or twice a year, and these 50 people are broken up into different areas. So I have 3 dentists, and then when the bills come through, I have them look up, or we send them the dentist bills. What do you think? Is this good for the people or good for the dentist? Should I be a no or a yes on this? And then we have insurance people. And so we have a group of about 50 people that I do that with, and that's how I guess I would call that transparent.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, I just also wanted to apologize for being late. I got back in late last night, and then I'm still trying to balance my other full-time job with this one too, so very happy to be here. I was just going to encourage you all, in terms of, you asked about transparency, to ask for the cell phones of everyone up here. I think if you don't have them, every single person up here will give them to you. As things move quickly and it's busy, you send an official email, I think you text, and you ought to deserve a response. And I think for the people up here, you'll get one, right? And hey, what's going on in this committee? What's about to be voted on? What's leadership saying about this? I think you'll find, especially now, you're gonna get responses there. Social media is another one. I would tell you to follow each and every one of these pages, because I'll brag on Representative Banning, but he did a great job of just doing some Facebook Lives throughout the session, right at the end of the week. Hey, this is what's coming up next week. This is what we're voting on. This is kind of what I'm dealing with. And so there's a lot more ways to be transparent, get access to quick information now, but do make sure you catch us, get our cell phones, especially if we're your representative, and we'll be happy to share them.
Okay, thank you so much. All right. Can we give a round of applause for those answers? That we are super grateful for that transparency. They all have cell phones. They've given us ways to communicate with them. So by a show of hands, how many of you are here today that have a comment or a question that is related to a state issue? 4, 6, perfect. That kind of gives us an idea of what we can and cannot do, because we do have some other questions for them. So let us start.
You have the freedom.
You tell me. She's gonna be the
She
boss.
wants to be the boss. So.
She's the boss. You have 2 bossies up here, so we gotta choose. You be the boss, and I'll control this one.
Okay. So I'm gonna be the bad guy.
Yeah, we just knew that we'd work well together, right?
Okay, so we'll take the first question from this table.
And just remember, you have a 1-minute response, just like our legislators, and we will have a time. Michelle is right here in the center of the room. You've got green, yellow, and red, and she has a bell. Watch out, she's dangerous. She has a bell. Any additional comments or complaints or concerns? we're gonna give them plenty of time to answer, and you guys can talk to them one-on-one.
Yes, if we didn't already say it, you'll have 30 minutes after this. They'll be at their tables, they'll be around. Please go talk to them. So where is our question over here that I saw?
Thank you for coming. My question is regarding to the Delta Plains NITSE corridor, the National Interstate Electrical Transmission corridor coming through Oklahoma. Have any of you guys heard about it and what's being done to protect Oklahomans from eminent domain? It's in phase 3, and once phase 3 is established, I am of the understanding that that will enact FERC, or enable FERC to be able to enact certain tools, which I think is eminent domain, to come in and progress with easements, whatever else may come along with that. But it's not just a transmission corridor, it's also generation, which they like to say virtual power plants, solar, wind, hydrogen, and these are concerning to us as landowners. We're a large ranch out in Creek County. This affects my neighbor Rick Arbor on his land. So in regards to that, what do you guys know about that, and what can be done to protect landowners in Oklahoma?
This is corded.
It's boarded, so I can jump over non-ports. So there's a lot of, thank you for the questions, there's a lot of misinformation on the corridor. So there's a Federal Power Act that's been around since 1920. Thomas Edison was involved in this act. This has happened for a long time, these corridors. So the information that's going out is almost like it's going to plow 18 miles of land. That's not gonna happen. 18 miles is 95,040 feet. That is a lot of land. That's not gonna happen. They're gonna talk to constituents, from what I understand, talking to the federal Congress, and they're gonna talk to constituents. They're not gonna try to interrupt anybody's land, or they're not gonna try to be a disruption. They need these votes. The U.S. congressmen, U.S. senators, they need future votes. They don't wanna make our constituents mad. That's what I've heard from them. Now what came out recently, it came out in May, at the end of our session. That's why we don't know about it. We get congressional updates probably on a monthly basis. We just haven't been in the Capitol to get these updates. I'm sure we'll get updates coming in February to figure out what's going on with this one, coming out from Bixby, but it's not gonna be 18 miles long. It's gonna be talking to constituents, negotiating. I haven't seen a contract yet, but we hand to a constituent. Thank you, that's a long answer, but anyway, hope that explains a little bit better.
So I woke up this morning with a text message asking that exact same thing, showing the map of where this is supposed to be going. When I came to this meeting, and your state legislators should also work with your federal delegation as well. So I found Sam Mulready, who represents Congressman Hearn's office, and I forwarded all those texts to him. I said, find out what you can find out and let me know, so we can get ahead of this, because this reminds me of Windcatcher back in 2017 that I fought, and went to the Corporation Commission. We were able to negotiate a deal with them that put those in the existing right-of-ways, and they did not take any land. So I think just working through even your state legislators, who can also work with your federal delegation as well.
I could add this just a little bit. One thing I would like to say is it is new to all of us as far as what's cropped up over the past, say, 2 or 3 weeks. This project's been in planning for at least 15 years. And it's been public. I went back and looked, because somebody said, well, why has this been secretive? And I went and looked, and you can Google it. It's online. There's been many articles written about it. But to Chris's point is that 18-mile wide swath is not going to all, they will go to private landowners and try to purchase land. And I don't believe they have the authority of eminent domain at this point on this project.
All right, next question. I know there's a bunch of hands over here. So who else had a question on this side? All right.
First of all, I'd like to thank you all for your service. We appreciate it. When the governor ran for his first term, he told us that Oklahoma would be a top 10 state. And I don't believe we're a top 10
Well, I think Oklahoma is top 10 in many, especially economic metrics. We're top 10 net migration in. I think the governor did a great job navigating through COVID. I think, and so I think we have a ways to go in a number of things that we need to work on. That I think coming out of COVID would affect it there. But I disagree that we're not a top 10 state in anything. We're a top 10 in a lot of different things, and I think we're a great state. And I'm very optimistic about where we're going. And the legislature, we're trying to make it our state more business friendly. We're trying to update our tax code. I think we reduced taxes this last session. We did a lot of very good things. Still more work to do.
So Mark, Representative Tedford stole my answer. So the top 10 in net domestic migration, that was from 2022. That means that total citizens moving out of Oklahoma versus moving in, we were number 10 in the nation as far as having the highest number of people moving into Oklahoma. And that, to me, just shows that there's a foundation here for success. One of the things that I said at the very beginning of my campaign is that I really do believe that Oklahoma is poised to be the next great American success story. It reminds me of a Wayne Gretzky quote. You probably heard it before, but he said, somebody asked him, how did you score so many goals? And he said, well, I didn't skate to where the puck was, I skated to where the puck was going. And so I feel like Oklahoma, 10, 20 years from now, is on this trajectory of growth and improvement. Yes, we're not there right now, and as a new representative coming in, I'm excited to be a part of the process, and I really do believe in the process that we have, and it's shown people are voting with their feet. People are moving to Oklahoma because they see the conservative values they have, they see the business environment that we're trying to create, and so yes, we're not there yet, but I am optimistic about our potential.
Let me just add in one thing tied into the same thing, but for the first time in history, there are more people moving from Texas to Oklahoma than there are people moving from Oklahoma to Texas.
So I just want to take you back a few short years ago. In 2016, when I was first elected, the state had a $850 million budget shortfall. Then my second year, we had 50,000 teachers at the Capitol. We had a $1.3 billion budget shortfall. We have been working very diligently over the past 6 years. We have turned those budget shortfalls around to having some savings. I think there's a conversation that has to be asked, and how much is savings is too much. We have to figure that out. I heard it mentioned on taxes earlier. I just want to say something real briefly. True tax reform in the state of Oklahoma needs to happen. I think it's an absolute sin that you never own a piece of property. Absolute sin. But we cannot, as the legislature, thank you, we cannot, you hear the legislators, I've heard it for 8 years now, going into my 9th year, I want to reform taxes. You cannot do it because of the stranglehold on the legislature. We have a supermajority of Republicans. We have to learn to work, all of us together, and we need to reform our tax code.
Amen. Amen. One thing I want to say to this is I think it's important to recognize patterns and to be proactive. I don't agree with speaking anything out of fear. I believe in speaking out of strategy. If people are moving from California to Texas and then they're leaving Texas to Oklahoma, there's a reason that they're leaving. I'm worried. I do want to just be aware that some of the more liberal ideologies is probably why some people are leaving California and then they move to Texas, and then we have seen Texas in some counties split. And if we want to recognize these patterns, see what's going on, because we want to be attracting conservative values and conservative people to Oklahoma. And so liberals are very good at rallying and being proactive at getting what they want, and that's unfortunate because it does not align with our Oklahoma values. I would really like to see Oklahoma finding ways and businesses to recruit conservatives to be moving to Oklahoma with our values and conservative businesses.
Try not to trip on this thing. I think it is a great question. Why aren't we more top 10 in more categories? One of the things that comes to my mind is where we rank in education. And I know we have this right here, faith is the foundation, morality, law, and education. It's a top 4 thing that we need to address. And one of the things that the legislature has done in an attempt to put education at the top is
since 2018. I was elected in 2018. I think we've committed more money from that point until now than has been committed to education in the history of our state. $1.9 billion, I believe, is what we've committed. Just in the 59th legislature, I think we put $839 million new dollars towards education. So it's not from a lack of trying from your legislature. There are things that need to be addressed. We continue to need to work on things. And as was mentioned before, I think we are poised for much improvement, but it's going to take us continuing to work.
Yes, thank you so much, guys. I love that you mentioned education at last. We are one of the friendliest states to homeschooling, and our laws are friendly for charter schools, and we're seeing those blossom as part of Tulsa Classical Academy, and so that couldn't be possible in another state, so we're super grateful for the moves there. We are going to go back to the eminent domain, the corridor questions one more time.
Shelley, one thing I wanted to mention is, I did a lot of research on this because my phone was blowing up over the weekend on this corridor. And keep in mind that 86% of Oklahomans don't own their mineral rights, meaning whoever owns those mineral rights can step on your land at any time. The majority of the people in this room don't own their mineral rights. It's the same thing as negotiating with those people, making sure if they come on your land, when they leave it, don't leave sludge in the ponds, take care of it, make sure it's clean, make sure it is replaced. It's the same situation as not owning those mineral rights.
Thank you. We're going to do 2 questions on this side now. Yes, Steve.
My name is Fran Fleming, and I just had a question. I would love to know the statistics of immigrants coming into Oklahoma versus Texans. Big difference. And I go to a lot of Tulsa Public School meetings with Elena Ashley, and we get over in Tulsa Public Schools, we get 100 new non-English speaking students a week. A week. They speak 6 different languages in the classroom. They cannot survive. Our numbers will never come up. Well, that's all true.
We'd like to respond.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm just never been afraid of a microphone. So I don't have the statistics. Okay, and I'm just going to admit that to you. What I want to say to us as a party, we have to be cautious in how we word things. A lot of times, we are a nation that was built on immigration. So when we say immigrants, we're encompassing people who are here legally, that came through the process. What we're talking about is illegal aliens. So our party needs to start paying attention to how we word things, because that's what gets us in trouble with people. These are not immigrants. These are illegal aliens. I'm going to tell you a quick story. I've got little time. I used to have a legal resident from Mexico that lived in my home. And he told me one day, he said, about 15 years ago, you're going to wake up one day, there's going to be 1 million people standing at the southern border. And they're going to be wanting to cross over, and you're not going to be able to stop it. Joe Biden in 2020, during his campaign for the Democratic nomination, live on television, called for a surge at the southern border. These are illegal aliens. And political correctness is just, I want to say something really bad. It's just bull fire, okay? It's just horse manure. Illegal aliens, not immigrants.
I'm going to comment on that too. I do think that Governor Stitt has already commented on working with President Trump on his initiatives. No doubt the state superintendent will work as well with. I feel like the state has all the legislative tools it needs to deal with this problem personally. We passed legislation to empower our state to work with ICE and stuff to deal with the illegal alien situation. So that's my take on it.
respond to that? What can you all do as, at the state level to take away the welcoming city status of Tulsa?
More Republicans should have got out to vote for Van Norman.
Just on the issue of illegal immigration coming to Oklahoma, and I'm glad someone pointed out, is it more Texans versus illegal immigrants? We need to ask ourselves, are we incentivizing poor behavior? Are we incentivizing, giving incentive for more people to be coming here illegally? Like, what are all the benefits laid out for them if they can get here? And that is something that Oklahoma has control of. We have control of the incentives that we have. And I think, like Tedford was saying, I'm glad we're in contact with ICE. Oklahoma needs to establish their own relationship with ICE. Texas is not our mother. Texas is not our father. We are Oklahoma, and we like some things they do in Texas, but we need to be looking at what is Oklahoma going to do themselves.
Yeah, let me just mention two things. First of all, and I just heard Representative Becky mention this, we did pass the immigration bill last year. But the second thing is, you may have seen it in the news, Governor Stitt has just tasked the commissioner of DPS to come up with a plan on how to move the illegal immigrants out of the state, illegal aliens out of the state of Oklahoma. Yeah, he just announced that.
Good question. I've got 3, and then I'll come back. I've seen Box, Hardin, and Arnett.
Just a comment to keep the time for real questions. In the next election, you guys know there's a general mistrust of the federal government, and it leaks down to you guys. And then unfortunately for Brian and I, it leaks down to the municipal level. I had 72 people call me in the last 2 months asking about state question 833, which had a lot of moving parts. Generally speaking, none of you sold it very well. So my ask of you guys is, for the next time there's a state question on the ballot, if you could get out in front and make a commitment to actually sharing with us what you're supporting or not, that would be helpful, because there were so many moving parts in that. And frankly, the mayor of Bixby or James is not an expert. We didn't create the legislation. So when I call you folks, not picking on anyone in this room, there's some folks outside of this who were invited today, it seemed like nobody really knew. And you're asking the voters to support or not support things. We'd be helpful if you guys would get out in front and give us that guidance. If you guys are true conservative leaders, we'll trust you and we'll follow your lead. Thank you for your service.
If I may just comment on that, when a state question goes on the ballot, the Attorney General has to write the language that actually goes in, that you see when you go to vote. Now, there's a lot of legalese in that. I've been in contact with the Attorney General's office related to that very thing, how to get language additionally or somehow that's out there that's at a 6th grade level. And I'm not trying to be funny about it. That's where it's really been determined that it needs to be, that explains what a state question is. Because probably 2 of the biggest challenges people have when they go to vote is, what does the state questions mean? And number 2, who do I vote? How do I vote on judges? That's generally the 2 biggest things. So the Attorney General is looking at that, and hopefully we can have it where it can simplify some of the language related to state questions.
We've got 10 more minutes.
Okay, I'll be real quick. I got to address state questions though. We sit up here, we sat in this room today, we applauded the republic that we live in. Did we not? How many of you like state questions? I didn't see a single hand go up. You know why you don't like it? Because it's direct democracy. The best state question we can put on the ballot from the citizens of Oklahoma is to eliminate state questions, and the legislature do the hard work that you vote for us to go up there to do. That's the best state question. So if you want to put a state question on the ballot, put one to eliminate state questions, because that's how the liberal agenda gets done in the state of Oklahoma.
so much. Next question.
So it's been stated that we have a supermajority here in Oklahoma, and I think we're all well aware of that, and frustrated that many bills that should come out to protect our kids, to protect Oklahomans, never make it out of committee. And so my question is this, and we've also, some of you have talked about the need for transparency, that we have transparency in the committees. I really appreciate that. My question is to Senator Reinhardt, in the effort of transparency, who did you vote for Senate Majority Leader in this last election?
Yeah, I'd be happy to answer that. I voted for the current senator who won, Pro Tem, Senator Lonnie Paxton. So, yep, that's the answer, right? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was a very close vote. A lot of interested parties, and be happy to share that, and we'll continue to do that throughout my service. Yep.
Okay, he answered the question, and we can dig into
Sure.
that in our
Okay.
free time. Thank you so much. Next question, Daniel.
There is on the books in Oklahoma the Citizens Participation Act that should protect everyone in this room. If you have an issue and talk to law enforcement or DHS, that law is a joke. It cost me 6 years of litigation, 6 days of a jury trial, $53,000 that I did not have in legal fees. Now, of course, I won on every count. And the plaintiff then, of course, went to bankruptcy court, which was his way of avoiding having to pay my legal fees, which he was due. So the question is, if the laws you pass are not followed by the judges, why are we paying you? With love and respect. Because friends and I are up there, and I appreciate the women allowing me into the room. I really do. For these kinds of discussions are critical. But the point is, we have a corrupt judicial system, and it's time we fix it and protect the people who are trying to do the right thing. And of all the things I've been aggravated about in 40 years of journalism, nothing has ticked me off more than this, and I'm going to be writing a lot about it.
Is that a question?
So the question is why are we paying them? Is that the question, David?
The question is, how can we fix the judicial system, which is corrupt in Oklahoma?
Well, almost every issue we've talked about today comes down to what the representatives or the senators are going to do, what the governor's going to do. But he's come across the problem, and that's the judicial system. So we, as citizens, I mean, that's all of us, we need to fix that system. We need to look at how the judges vote and get rid of it. Because these judges are in there for way too long, and once they get on their agenda, they destroy a lot of the things, good ideas that we have. Yes, we don't put them forth because we know it'll never get past the first stage of the arguments down at the judge's house. So we need to get rid of those judges, but that's going to take all of us, and it's going to take more than one election cycle.
Yeah, Representative Hildebrand here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. My neighboring representative, Representative LePack, presented a bill last session, and it was divided, I think, in the House, but to mirror the nomination of Supreme Court justices in the state of Oklahoma to look like the federal system. I think that's one pathway forward. So the governor of the state of Oklahoma could nominate justices, and I think that's one way to address some of the justices that come into our system. We have a very liberal Supreme Court justice, as you all saw during this last election cycle, and one of them was overturned. But I think that's one way that we, the people, and our voices can raise up and address it.
The last thing that I'll say is I think that it's important that we continue to have conversations like these, because I think there's a few things that I had mentioned that I feel like The Republicans across the nation as a whole have not yet adopted that should be conservative values at this point, because we are the party that doesn't like government overreach. The Republican Party should be in favor of holding accountable or even abolishing the Department of Human Services and building it back up from the ground. The Republican Party should be the party that wants to abolish the teachers' unions and hold them accountable. The Republican Party should be the party that abolishes the Federal Department of Education. So my request to you all and to myself is to continue having these conversations, because we are wired to think that because these things were built for a good purpose, there's a need. There was a need for DHS, and there is a need for DHS for families that need it. But it's when these government entities get out of control and get away from the people. So please go out and about in the community and have conversations and address and explain the reality of how these three entities have become corrupt or have overstepped. It's going to have to spread for it to pass for a vote and for your legislators to hear the word.
So this last election was, I think, the first time a judge has not been retained, and the other two were very, very close. So when it comes to the JNC, the Judicial Nominating Committee, we need to abolish that system, but we have to do that through a referendum of the people, through a state question. So if you get rid of that, you're never able to.
That too is true.
So I think that's the first step. It was passed in the Senate last session. It did not make it through the House, so I expect that's going to come back up again to keep our judges from legislating from the bench and holding our values, those that are elected.
So I'm the vice chair of the Judicial Committee, and I also served 23 years for the U.S. courts. So I have a unique perspective on this. And so last year when Senate Joint Resolution 34 came up, which was getting away from the Judicial Nominating Committee and going to the federal model. And so when I read that bill, I immediately went to the author's office, because what is hidden in that bill, and I'll explain all the ramifications of it, was some terms of art. These terms of art are embedded in the Constitution when we talk about judges. And so those terms of art are called good behavior. And so if you wanted to go to the federal model, that's fine. If you want to go to that model. But Oklahoma's got a unique judicial system. Our Supreme Court does not sit over our Court of Criminal Appeals. It only sits over the civil. And so we got a unique system. So the way the JNC works is instead of the governor appointing somebody and the Senate confirming, which is a federal model, what the JNC does, if you want to be a judge in Oklahoma, you apply to the Joint Nominating Committee. They vet you, OSBI, they vet you. Then they give the governor 3 choices. There's no confirmation. Here's the problem with that bill. Here's the problem with going to the federal model right now. Right now. It's simple. Good behavior means lifetime appointment. Good behavior means lifetime appointment. Everybody knows we have more than 3 liberal judges on there. We took a shot at them this time, but it's just like fighting a bear. You only took out 1 bear. There's more than 2 more. And so now they know. Now they know if they want to get anything done in Oklahoma, they better hurry. So in Oklahoma, we also had the retention vote, which is every 6 years, those judges were held accountable, right? We've never won, like they said, we've never won a retention vote until this last time. Never won a retention vote. So here's what would happen. We'd have had a 3rd state question if that would have passed. And on that 3rd state question, if we'd have voted on that and passed it, all those judges would immediately be lifetime appointed. Immediately. And so nothing makes a judge live longer than lifetime appointment. Here's the other thing, and I worked for Article 3 judges. I worked for lifetime appointed judges my whole career. And I'll just tell you this, it's a riddle.
15 seconds.
So here's the riddle. What's the difference between God and a lifetime appointed judge? Well, God knows he's not a judge. They don't. So, if we would have passed that and missed on those other two, we probably would have missed on three. It was really close. They'd have immediately been lifetime appointed. And so that's the issue.
Thank you so much. We have one more response.
So I'm sorry. You guys have just invited me up here for the first time. I'm enjoying this, but it was brought up about the state question in the Constitution. Our state Constitution was written by progressives and Democrats for 100 years. We are top 10, sir, in at least one thing, and that's one of the largest, longest constitutions in the world. I think we're like top 3 in that. And so the legislature constitutionally is required to put a vote before the people every 20 years. Do we want to have a constitutional conviction that deals with our state constitution? Very few of us ever file it. I do plan to file it this year. I'm thinking about calling it the Leave Me the Hell Alone Act of 2025. But we need to take a progressive Democrat constitution in a state that is run by solid red. I mean, we were one of 2 states. We always vote red. One thing you can count on is we're gonna be Republican. Our Constitution needs to reflect our values. And it does not. And that ties the hands of everyone on this stage many times. We need a state constitutional conviction.
Okay, so now that we've got everybody riled up and their brains are thinking, we're gonna cut it off. It is time, and I respect your time and their time. If we could have you all stand up, we would love to just get a picture of who came. We want to thank you so much for investing your time to meet with us. You have shown yourself to be examples of what it looks like to be a transparent, available, accessible leader. So we can't thank you enough. So if we could get all of you together back there, we would love a picture. Somebody grab some pictures.
Okay, well, hold on 1 second. We have one coming in hot. So, hold on.
Oh, let's get Ross for you.
Yeah, he's coming. We are super grateful, both clubs, to have this many representatives from the state of Oklahoma in our presence under one roof at one time.
Yes. And just so you're aware, we did invite every Republican official who touched Tulsa County in any shape or form, and these are the ones who answered the call today. Thank you guys so much.
Yes, absolutely.
So we have plenty of time, at least 30 minutes, for these guys to come down and you can ask your questions, get their cell phone numbers, whatever you want to discuss with them. Take some more food and coffee and just hang out until 11:30, 12. We'll be here. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Migrate now.